Hey, Stephen Yanni here doing the junkyard crawl at Bernardston Auto Wrecking in Bernardston, Massachusetts. And in a previous video, we've shown this 1967 Oldsmobile Toronado and other Oldsmobile Toranados right here on the junkyard crawl. But this one has been lifted up. Apparently, since the video ran, somebody in Australia wants to buy the 425 cubic inch V8 to have it shipped down under, and that's cool. But in the meantime, with it raised up like this, what a nice opportunity to take a look at General Motors and their use of torsion bars. Let's look underneath here. Now, a lot of people think that Chrysler and torsion bars are synonymous. Well, it is true that from 57 well into the 1980s, Chrysler did use longitudinal torsion bars under their rear-wheel drive cars, but GM had them too. And we see them right here. This is the Toronado, and this is a torsion bar. What this basically is, it's a high-grade spring steel which is anchored at the back on both sides, 1 and 2. It doesn't turn, but these go forward to the lower control arms where they are free to twist. That is your spring. So the twisting action and the resistance to it is what makes the torsion bar do what it does. Now, unlike a coil spring, which takes up a lot of vertical height under the engine bay and in a front-wheel drive car like this would be unworkable or very complex. Torsion bars are down low. They solve the suspension problem neat and clean. Speaking of front-wheel drive, this is the underside of the GM Turbo 425. It's similar to a Turbo 400 with a little extra torque capacity. Here's the underside of the Olds 425 V8 right here. Here's the starter motor. And this aluminum structure here, inside of that is a Morse chain, which takes the straight back action of the crankshaft and turns it into a side action into this transmission. This is the bottom of the Turbo 425. And on the front of this thing, we look right here, that is the differential. Here's the inspection cover, comes off. Inside of here is like a 9.9 inch ring gear, bigger than a Dana 60 right inside of that thing. And on each side of this differential are the half shafts which go out to the front wheels to drive them. And that's the wonder of the 66 up Olds Toronado. In fact, in 67, Cadillac Eldorado utilized a very similar front suspension arrangement, however, with the Cadillac 429 and later 472 V8s instead of the Olds 425. But otherwise, the transmission and suspension parts are virtually the same. One thing that does set the Olds Toronado apart from the Cadillac Eldorado is the Olds Toronado has dual exhaust. Each head pipe comes out here. They run down right here to each side of the car, all the way down to the back to a transverse muffler, and then out under the bumper, true dual exhaust. Cadillac, for whatever reasons, ran the two pipes into a big single pipe, then to a muffler, and then a single exhaust coming out. And you gotta remember that Cadillac, they weren't building Hemi Cooters or L88 Corvettes. They wanted quiet cars, and the exhaust systems on Cadillacs were big, high flow items, but they were quiet. Whereas Oldsmobile still wanted some sporting pretense and possibility in reality in their 375 horsepower 425 cubic inch Toronado. But the Toronado is not GM's only use of torsion bars. Let's take a look at another one. Now here's a typical Mopar torsion bar car, the 66, 67 Charger, torsion bars up front. But again, we're talking GM here. A lot of folks don't remember that GM pickup trucks back in 60 through 63 utilized torsion bars up front, not coils, not a beam axle. And this is the frame from an early Chevy pickup truck. You can see right here the big X in the middle, independent front suspension, but where are the coil springs that you'd expect to see? Well, that's because there aren't any. Torsion bars, baby, right here. Once again, anchored at the tail, twisting with the front, and that is your suspension. These twin bars right here. These are the torsion bars. Now keep in mind, none of this is interchangeable with a Cadillac Eldorado or an Olds Toronado or a Chrysler. These are all very specific and very unique to their applications. But GM, they understood and appreciated the benefits of the torsion bar in 1960 with this generation of light Chevy pickup. And believe it or not, these torsion bars were used on Chevy trucks up to 6 tons. Same torsion bar stuff up front. Not as good at maintaining an alignment, especially like on a gravel pit dump truck, a 5-tonner. And there was actually an optional straight axle if you didn't want the independent front suspension. But the idea with this is that it gave you a nice smooth ride on the front of the vehicle versus the beam and leaf springs seen on 50s Chevy pickup trucks. And at the back of this thing, you got to remember too, that pickup trucks generally have leaf springs, right? Well, no, coil springs on the back of GM pickup trucks starting in 1960. We got them right here. And these are the coil springs that hold the back up. And here are the lower control arms right here. And this basic suspension right here is very similar to what was used in NASCAR super speedway cars in the 60s and 70s. And evolution of this thing was used until the advent of the transaxle independent rear suspension the last couple of years in NASCAR. But again, coil springs at the back, torsion bars up front. It's not a Mopar, that's for sure. And again, this was once under probably a C10 Chevy pickup truck. The cab would sit right here, the bed back here. And interesting, you can see the sort of the C-leg mounting of the rear shock absorbers on this weird angle going straight back like that, probably to tame front rear axle hop and up to down motion. And they're not staggered, they're both appearing on the back. And of course this sway bar right here, the Watts link you might say, which helps to locate the axle side to side in the frame, attached to the frame into the axle, again helping the rear axle not to shift side to side under the vehicle. And again, a pretty beefy frame, more than just a perimeter, has this X in the middle, a box right there. I imagine the twist strength on this thing was pretty high when it was new. And like all Chevy pickup trucks, half-ton, up till 1971, 6 lug wheels. 71, Chevy finally went to 5 lugs to accommodate the disc brakes, which came along in 71. But again, 6 lug wheels, half-ton torsion bars. So again, torsion bars, not just for Mopars. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to the Steve Mag's YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and be sure to hit the bell so you're aware of when the next video drops just tomorrow morning.